earlier on mentioned. We will also encourage the fishermen to use the right gears for the fishing. That is not supposed to maybe bring in these plastics out from the sea when they go for the fishing. When they use the right fishing gear, it's likely to save them from getting the plastics.
What is the per capita consumption of fish in Ghana?
Honorable Honorable, per capita, how many kilos per if any individual consume? He eats bush meat, so you can count him out. Yeah.
Every Ghanaian consumes 23 kilograms a year. That is the per capita consumption. So, Mr. Speaker, once you have not...
You have had four, it's sufficient. You chose to answer that yourself. Yes. All right. Honorable Agaga.
Thank you. Honorable nominee, let me take you back to the infamous shooting incident that you have fully taken responsibility for. Now, the weapon you fired, was it your own weapon? If yes, did you license it lawfully? And if so, are you willing to furnish us with a copy of the license? Says who?
Hello, these are...
Mr. Speaker, says who?
Please, you didn't speak to the mic, so you can't respond to something that is not spoken to the mic. Honorable, was your gun licensed? That's all we need to know.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, the gun is mine and is duly licensed. Thank you.
Yeah. Second leg of the question is, are you willing to furnish us with a copy of the license?
What will you do with that? The police is investigating that. They will need it. Ask another question, please.
The now defunct ministry of which you were minister superintendent over the development authorities, but my focus is on the Northern Development Authority. Are you able to tell this committee how the Northern Development Authority rolled out development projects in the various constituencies that comes under its jurisdiction? What criteria did they use to roll out their activities in the various constituencies?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, prior to the operationalization of the development authorities, when the Ministry of Special Development Initiative took over, we did needs assessments throughout the country, which was handed over to the development authorities. So based on that, and in collaboration with the MMDCs, that they did those developments of the projects in every constituency. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, the needs assessments that were done clearly was incorporated in the medium-term expenditure framework of your ministry, which was duly presented to this House for approval. Is that correct? The needs assessment you just alluded to formed part of your medium expenditure framework 2020 to 2023, which was presented to this House and duly approved. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
So it would be out of place for parliamentary candidates to lay claims as having lobbied for development projects undertaken by the development authorities.
Ask another question, man. What the parliamentary candidate says or does not say.
Oh, Mr. Speaker, I have a specific question that I want to tease
Ask
out.
that question, but what a parliamentary candidate says or does not say has nothing to do with her.
Oh,
You're asking her, it is out of place for a parliamentary candidate to lay. That's asking her opinion of whether she thinks it's right or not. That's not.
oh, Mr. Speaker, am I entitled to make a specific reference and put it to her because she was the minister with, oversight responsibility over the development authority?
She made a claim like that. If it's not her, but somebody else, then she can't answer what somebody else says. If she said that, put it to her.
But can I suggest it to her if it ever came to her notice? What action she must have taken would be a legitimate
if
question.
it's admissible, I will allow it.
Very well. Now, Honorable Nominee, I'd like to refer you to a publication which appeared on Ghana Web on the 9th April 2020, and it was reported that Mr. David, and I'm quoting, Chaiiii Dema, an MPP parliamentary candidate for the Bole Bamboy constituency, cut short for the construction of market stores, 3-unit class blocks, and a clinic with funding from the Northern Development Authority. Did this matter come to your attention?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Honorable Chairman.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, Minister. Minister, I'm sure you've been briefed on the coastline of Ghana, that we have about 550 kilometers of coastline from Aflao area to Elubu. The President started this program of building a lot of fish landing ports under the Ministry of Transport with the support and collaboration of the Fisheries Ministry. It's a laudable project. I know of the one at Winneba, Mountford, Axim, Teshi, Odododio, Jamestown. What is your brief on this project? And how are you going to collaborate with the Transport Minister to ensure that the hard-working fisher folk get the required benefits from these ports that government is sinking so much into? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I heard you right, I think it's a laudable idea, and I'm going to continue with the initiative. Thank you.
Secondly, Minister, those of us in the Middle Belt, we hear a lot about premix issues. There's a committee and a lot of fishermen will be talking, granting interviews. It's always an unending saga with premix. Dissolution of committees, a shortage of committees, premix at landing sites. It's sometimes disturbing. What is the real issue with pre-mixed issues? And what can you do to solve some of the age-old problems associated with its distribution and any other problem? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, we've heard a lot about the issues of pre-mixed fuel. Fishermen, the right people are not getting it, or it's being diverted one way or the other. Mr. Chairman, I know very well that improving on the Vice President in collaboration with the Fisheries Commission and the former minister have tracked the vehicles for the distribution of the fuel. Mr. Chairman, when I get the nod, I'm going to take it from there and make sure that this premise will be available for all fishermen at the fishing site to do their fishing. And I will also introduce some other measures that will help to mitigate the shortage of premise fuel. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Ahi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I want to find out from the honorable nominee. Honorable nominee, what is fish farming? What is fish farming? And what are some of the advantages of fish farming?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll try my best. Fish farming is the process of rearing of fish in the reservoirs and the fish ponds, etc. Thank you.
And some advantages. I think OBM is just
He
disturbing.
said, what are some advantages of a fish farming? Honorable man, please, I said, what are the advantages of fish farming?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One advantages of fish farming is it makes the farmer earn some income. It also increases fish in our community for consumption. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I think we are here to work as colleagues. As colleagues. But the honorable nominee perfectly answered the question. So what is all
Can I
this
have some order, please? Honorable Ahi, please ask the question.
Oh.
Can I have some order, please?
Mr. Chairman,
So you can continue to do that. So when I also speak from here, will it be fair?
under the
You are speaking
under
from there as
honorable
well.
Chaiiii,
Can we go?
Aite.
It's not fair. Look at what you say. Let me go ahead. My problem is that you stop maintaining the
Can I have some order, please?
Honorable Chairman, when Honorable Chaiiii Aite was Minister for the sector that you are going, when approved, a number of coal stores were built across the regions. All of these, a number of coal stores, all of these are now white elephants. What will you do about them? For instance, you go to Jamestown, Cape Coast, Azim, and Mumford and so on. What will you do about them?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, when given the nod, I will find out what exactly the problems are with the coal stores, and we will revive them accordingly. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, in the 2016 manifesto of MPP, the government promised $1 million per constituency. The honorable nominee, in 29th November 2019, said that all 275 constituencies have received $1 million each. Can you tell this committee how much from that promise did each constituency receive by the end of 2020? And what they use it for in those constituencies?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I got you well, was it for only 2029 to 2020?
You said that in 2019. It was 2019 when you said all 275 have received $1 million. That's what I want to find out from you. By the end of 2020, how much of that promise did each constituency receive? And what was it used for?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not very sure I said they have received $1 million per constituency. It's a budget allocation. So as and when the projects are being executed, then the money is being paid. But honestly, Mr. Chairman, it will be very difficult for me to tell because we have the development authorities. And as I mentioned earlier on, that we did needs assessment from the beginning. And based on the needs assessment, they still review it. They still review it in collaboration with the stakeholders and the MMDCs to know the exact project that they need at that particular time. So I cannot pinpoint exactly what projects were used, the money was used for in the constituencies, if I got you right. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable. Yes, Honorable Joseph.
Congratulations, Honorable Nominee. The Fisheries Act mandates the Minister responsible for fisheries and aquaculture to declare open and closed fishing season to conserve marine species. However, we know the difficulties in trying to enforce this open and closed season. As a minister, what are you going to do to ensure we are able to execute the mandate in the Act?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, when giving the nod, I will continue with what my predecessor started in collaboration with the fishermen to do a lot of consultation before we can reintroduce it.
Chairman, the nominee keeps saying fishermen. Are there no women in the industry?
Do you know any fisherwoman yourself?
Maybe use fisher folk to protect yourself, because it's not just men. There are women whose livelihoods depend on fisheries and related aquaculture matters. Thank you, Chair.
John, are you done? Okay. Honorable Ayari.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Directly following the minority leader's question, what policy directions or policy plans do you have to improve the lot of women in the fishing industry? What policy plans do you have to improve the lot of women in the fishing industry?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Looking at the fishing industry, I believe there are lots of women in that chain. And first of all, as I will do consultation with them,
You have
we'll
said
also
there's
empower.
a lot of women in that chain. Where are the women in the chain?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, right from the coast to the market,
That is the selling part. Is that right? The marketing part is where the women are.
yes, please.
So that's where your policy direction will be, I suspect.
Sorry?
So that's where your policy direction would be, that the question is asking.
Yes, please.
So how will you help the women in the marketing of the fish?
By empowering them, Mr. Chairman.
Very well.
Okay. I know that you do more for them in terms of loans and stuff once you are giving them out. In terms of credit facilities, among others. Okay. So my next question. What is your take on mariculture and how do you intend pursuing that? Mariculture. What is your take on mariculture and how do you intend pursuing that?
However, I think we are confused. Is it marine culture or mariculture?
No, the correct one is mariculture or marine farming. So you can either say mariculture or marine farming. It's the same thing, but not marine culture. Mariculture or marine farming. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My plan is to enhance the sector by improving their way of the farming, increasing of the fishing fleets, introducing the closed season for them to get more catch. If I'm right, I don't know, but I didn't get your question very well.
You're done. Okay, very well. Yes, Honorable Sisi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Honorable nominee, I'm taking you back to the shooting incident. And I'm taking you back because it is a matter of serious public interest. In the wake of the shooting incident, the Ghana Bar Association issued a statement. And in their statement, they said, it is regrettable that the suspects in one instance include a minister who is also a lawmaker. And based on the same shooting, the Ghana Peace Council on July 21st, 2020, actually called for your resignation as a Minister of State. Now, the question that I would want to ask is that when you appeared before the vetting committee on the 10th of February 2017 to be considered as minister, among other things, you promised to champion youth development. However, you have earned titles such as Kasoa Van Damme, Robocop, Chuck Norris, which have resulted in...
Honorable Susu.
No, Mr. Chair, these are popular perceptions I'm making reference to.
Who gave her those titles?
No, my lord,
Don't, please. Those are not acceptable on the floor of the House. Right. What nicknames each of us have if we use them here? Please ask your question.
Very well, Mr. Chair. So my question is that What measures have you put in place since becoming a champion for youth development in Ghana, other than the perception of violence?
Honorable Member, are you a champion of youth in Ghana?
Mr. Chair, that is what he said in the Hansard, and I can refer to the Hansard.
He says she will champion youth issues. That doesn't make her a champion of youth development.
Well, Mr. Chairman, so I wanted to tell the committee what she did to champion the cause of youth in Ghana.
Yes, please answer. What did you do to assist the youth in the country?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Assisting the youth in the country, I used my office, my previous office, in getting work for the youth. One, through the constructions that were done in various constituencies. It created jobs for them to be engaged in various ways.
Honorable nominee, I believe that
if you follow up, yes, can you hold on? Yes.
The honorable member had used titles, unfortunate titles on the nominee, and I seek
I ruled the
and it should be expunged from the records.
They will be.
Thank you.
Please continue.
Honorable nominee, you would accept that your office as a Minister of State is a very, very high office, and people will be demanding high standards from you. How genuine is your apology covering the gun shooting that you just did before this committee?
Honorable Member, when you say how genuine, what do you mean? So
Mr. Chair, I'm sure the nominee understands the question because Mr. Chair, at least the apology must come with some commitment not to repeat those things again.
Do we have it? Sorry, your mic, please. When you say how genuine, are you going to measure or so ask a clear question, a question that is answerable? When you say how genuine, I don't see how you measure genuineness or otherwise.
Very well, Mr. Chair. I believe that it was an added opportunity for the nominee to tell Ghanaians and to reassure Ghanaians that she is committed to the apologies that she made before the committee and that she's genuine about it.
Yes, Honorable, they want to assure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I assure the committee that it's genuine. Thank you.
Well, the third question is that will you say that the Akufo-Addo administration has achieved its vision of one village, one dam, one constituency, $1 million, and the objectives of the 3 development authorities you were responsible for as a Minister for Special Development Initiatives?
Yes.
Thank you for the correction.
Honorable Member, please answer the question. Ignore their sides, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If the question can be taken again.
Well, to repeat the question, I'm saying that you were the Minister for Special Development Initiatives. Would you say that your government achieved the objectives of one village, one dam, one constituency, $1 million? No, but that's the question. You want me to, I just paraphrased it.
Yes, please. Did your government achieve those objectives? Your answer, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we achieved the objective of the ministry.
So every village has one dam now in Ghana. Every constituency had their $1 million.
Honorable, please, you're done. You're done. Yes.
So you can do Sweden and Blackburn.
Honorable Suhili, now you may ask your question. Yes, you may ask your question.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable nominee, I'll also take you back to the first question that you answered. You indicated that the matter is under investigation. There are a number of issues, though, that come up. Because I have read about two incidents of gunshots, one during the registration and the other during the elections. Which of them are you claiming responsibility for? And give assertion that under investigation, what will you say to the committee if it is decided that a decision on your nomination be deferred into this matter?
That's not a question to ask her. The first question, can you repeat so she will answer? Is that you asked her whether there were two shootings. Which one is she taking responsibility for?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and I'm asking if she thinks that it will be fair for this committee to defer a decision on her nomination until the investigation is over.
Can they leave that to the committee? Yes, Honorable. He says there were two shooting incidents. Which one? First, were there two shooting incidents?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In my answering this, I mentioned that the incidents on the 20th of July, 2020. Thank you.
Yes.
Honorable nominee, in relation to your former role as minister responsible for special initiatives, I want you to address a number of issues relating to procurement breaches and reported or alleged theft. One has to do with some tricycles that got missing, for which the CEO of the Northern Development Authority had to write to the Ghana Police to carry out an investigation into the missing tricycles.
So you add the name and then the reference letter of the letter, please.
Thank you. I have here letter dated 12 December 2019, CEO, Northern Development Authority, A.M. Harun, acting CEO actually, A.M. Harun, writing to the Ghana Police Service, Divisional Commander Lama Shebu Circuit, Tamale, to carry out, the letter is report on tricycle distribution. And then in this report, a request is made to the police commander to carry out investigation. I also have a reply of the Superintendent Regional Crime Officer, K. Otua Champong, to the CEO of the NDA at the time. And again, I have copies of letters here that I will share with you and the committee, where the new CEO wrote to contractors demanding to increase contract sums and bid by 5% because the party needed some funds. And the letter I will share with you is 12 March 2020.
Clarity, letter from...
The letter from the NDA.
To who?
To a number of contractors. This one is, the reference number is NDA IPEP 03501816, signed by the new CEO, Dr. Al-Hassan Suleimana Anamzoya, and the authority stamp is there, and it reads, I write to inform you of management decision to charge contractors and suppliers executing IPEP projects extra fees of 5% of the contract sum to help the party in the upcoming general elections. Any contractor who fails to pay these fees will lose his or her contract. Furthermore, any contractor or supplier on his or her own volition pay for extra charges to the consultants only on their own request to perform any extra activity for them and be paid for accordingly. This must not be seen as part of NDA IPEP charges. We will count on your usual cooperation and support. It's a letter. I have just requested for it to be.
First, let's clear.
Yes.
Was
And
it
then I also.
addressed to her? First, was it addressed to her? Was the letter addressed to her?
Mr. Chairman, no.
Wait. I just want to be sure before. Was the letter addressed to her or her office?
Mr. Chairman, the authorities operate under her ministry.
Hold it,
supervision.
Chairman, with your indulgence. I think what...
With all due respect.
Hold it, let me get Chairman's indulgence. You are holding her responsible as supervising minister for the Northern Development Authority.
First,
Do.
First, we want to know, you said the letter was written by somebody. It was addressed to who?
The CEO.
It was addressed to who?
I said this was addressed to contractors who were executing contracts under the IPEP program.
Very well. Well, and I just want to
Mr.
find
Chairman,
out
I'm not
whether
done.
she
There are
is
more
aware.
letters. There are more letters related to this
Don't
one.
worry. If they were addressed to her, then it means that she must have received it. If it is not addressed to her, I want to find out whether she is aware before you follow up with your questions on that. Right? You have said they are not addressed to her. They are addressed to contractors. Honorable, are you aware that your CEO of what?
Northern Development
was writing such letters to contractors?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I don't have any idea of such letter.
So, Chairman, should it be brought to your attention?
And I will be glad if my brother can give me the copies of the letter so I can follow on.
What will you follow up with? Will you investigate those matters?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since I'm no more at that ministry, I will forward it to the appropriate quarters for investigation. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Swede, if you want to follow up any questions on that, you may.
Mr. Chairman, I take note that you asked my question for me. I only referred to the letters, and then you moved on to ask her if she's aware.
Because you are reading the content of a letter that is not addressed to her. So first, I want to be
Mr.
sure
Chairman,
that
perhaps
she
if you
was
had
aware of
allowed
it.
me to finish and ask my question.
No, I'm responsible for ensuring what is admissible and what is not admissible. That is what I'm trying to do.
So, Mr. Chairman, are the letters admissible?
Depends on what questions you ask on her. That's why I asked her if she is aware.
Mr. Chairman,
if she is
I'm
aware,
saying I have not asked a question. You asked the question. If the letters are admissible, I was just going through the letters.
The first thing is that what you call letters are not before me. They are not here. You're seeking to ask questions of the person, content of the letter. I wanted to be sure that was she the recipient? No. Is she aware? If not, you don't waste our time asking questions.
Chairman,
Move
the
on to
word
other
"you
things.
don't waste our time" is not
With
acceptable.
all due deference to you,
No,
if we are
but
asking
you
questions
can't
on a
use the
matter
word.
which is not
No,
admissible,
you can't use the word.
yes,
You don't
we
waste
don't
our
waste
time.
our. I didn't say he. I said we.
No, but
We don't waste
too
our
strong,
time
too strong
on matters
and
which are not
unacceptable.
admissible.
No.
Please.
And then allow him to land. Then you make a determination.
With all due deference to you, leader, I'm regulating this with you.
No, but
I'll allow
you
so much
regulate
space.
it well.
So
I know,
let's
but
not
he
get
says he
into
hasn't
this.
asked the question. He's just giving the narrative.
That narrative.
So be concluding with your narrative and ask your question.
Thank you. I am guided, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. So I have here purchase of contract documents by contractors and suppliers, 12 March 2020, written on the letterhead of the Northern Development Authority and copied to consultants, copied to the Deputy Chief Executive Officer, and then to consultants. And I have already shared contents of that because it's the same content that was sent to the contractors. Then, Mr. Chairman, I also have here letters written by the Northern Region, Northern Regional Secretary of the New Patriotic Party, signed Sule Sambia, authorization to allocate these projects to the following contractors. I have that also here on the letterheads of the New Patriotic Party, signed by the Regional Secretary. And it says, the above subject matters referred, the regional party has decided to allocate this quota under IPEP projects to the following contractors. Nalirgu Gambaga constituency. You have the contractors.
Can I have that letter, please?
Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, I will pass on the letters to you. And in these letters, the contracts under IPEP were supposed to have been shared by the regional executives of the party. And again, in the letters from the NDA, contractors were charged for the contracts that they executed. This authority operated under your supervision as minister responsible for the operations of these authorities. Did you sanction these operations at those authorities?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I was the supervisory minister, but this never came into my attention.
Honorable nominee, what do you know happened to the tricycles that got missing under the Northern Development Authority? What do you know about the tricycles that got missing under the Northern Development Authority?
Honorable, the question is, some bicycles the tricycles were missing at the Northern Development Authority. What do you know about them?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, Mr. Chairman, the CEO reported to me that as he rightly read the letter to the police commander for investigation, I've still not received any report from the police through the CEO that I'm aware that such a thing has happened. Thank you.
Chairman, Honorable Minister nominee, there were pictures of tricycles, which tricycles were under the Northern Development Authority that got missing, or better still, as he put it, stolen, which led to the resignation of Dr. Majid Haruna as Chief Executive of the Northern Development Authority, are you aware that the matter is being investigated? And what did you do as minister to follow up for the loss of those public goods?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I mentioned, yes, it was reported to me. So I also set up a committee, but because the police was investigating it, they couldn't go on with the investigation, the committee. So we're still waiting till Dr. Majid left office. And up to now, I don't have any report on that matter.
Will you demand a report from the police? Will you demand from the police and accordingly, if necessary, sanction appropriately in accordance with law for the loss of those goods?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, yes, Honorable Ogulia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I will begin by revisiting the matter to do with violence in Kasoa and the reign of terror. Kindly allow me. Police investigations are not court processes, please.
Honorable Member, when it is not spoken into the mic, ignore it, please.
No, but it's really affecting us. Please, if we can conduct ourselves honorably, please. The nominee, in response to the honorable minority leader's question about your bodyguard, you indicated that, I hope the nominee is listening. I don't have your attention. Honorable Hawa Koomson, I am the one asking the question, not Obi Amwa. In your response to the Honorable Haruna Idrisu, you said that the shooting incident occurred at 6 a.m. at the polling station. I've received numerous messages from your constituents who contest that, who say that it was 9:15 a.m. at the Step to Christ polling center, and that over 300 of them were in the queue at the time the shooting incident took place. How do you reconcile that? I'm waiting for the response, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm surprised the person is telling you it was around 9 a.m. I've answered that. He asked, where was my bodyguard? I said, as at the time I left the house, it was around 6 a.m. She had then not reported for duty. So definitely I wouldn't leave my home 6 a.m. and get to the police center city. But it wasn't 9 a.m. It was between 6 and 6:30 a.m. Not 9 a.m. Thank you.
Honorable nominee, do you know this gentleman? Is this picture familiar to you?
Honorable Blocker, just seek chairman's permission and then do that so that the process is well regulated. You indulge chairman.
Yeah, leader.
Soon after she has looked at
because the nominee asked for it, that's why. But I'm willing to let you go through the
colleagues, many of this would request that at least chair and the clerk has copies beforehand, so we'll decide collectively. But also, kindly bring it to chairman's attention after she's looked at it.
So let me apply that, leader. I'll be making copies available to the chairman and the clerk.
Including the videos that we show, we just keep leadership and the clerk office ahead of time. Thank you.
Yeah, Honorable Nominee, we are waiting if you know the gentleman, the picture before you.
Yes, Honorable, do you know him?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I know him.
So, you know him as, who is he to you?
He is my brother.
So, you do know about the 1st January 2021 attack on Amadou Tuareg, the NDC constituency secretary for Ewutu Senya East, which he led. And I have photos of the assault, the bloody assault, and his hospitalization. I'll make all of that available to you, Mr. Chairman.
You deliberately introduce matters which are not before, and does not relate to the nominee.
It relates to the nominee. It relates to the nominee.
You've asked her whether he's aware of an attack on somebody.
Yes, the 1st
and then
January...
you continue with the commentary, introducing matters which are not before us. Please, answer the question.
1st January
about the attack of, is that who, NDC
Amadou
Secretary?
Tuareg, NDC constituency secretary, who is still hospitalized. You know about that attack?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know which attack he's talking about.
Please, I didn't hear you.
I don't know of the attack you have mentioned.
Mr. Chairman, I will be making copies of all of this available, and I hope the nominee will be reminded that she's under oath, because I have videos that she was in the company of this gentleman. But, Mr. Chairman, let me move to my second question.
That's your second question. That's your fourth question.
No,
that's your fourth question.
No, the first question was about
Honorable, that's your fourth question.
Violence
Please
and
proceed.
the reign of terror in Kasoa. My second question is a general news publication on Ghana Web of Wednesday, 17 July 2019. 1V, 1D. We are not constructing meaningful dams. Honorable Hawa Koomson, can you please explain what you meant by this statement? That the 1V, 1D, they are not meaningful dams. Can you please explain? And Ghana Web attached a video of the interview.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman, I've also read about it, but I must say that I was taken out of context. Thank you.
So what is the context? Because Ghana Web attached a video, and we hear you saying that.
No, but answer the last question from the nominee. What is the context?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, there was a question whether the dams we are constructing are that of the Akosombo Dam. And I said no. We are constructing community earth dams. And those dams are constructed within the community. So sure, we don't expect big dams. And Mr. Chairman, as we all know, so maybe the way I wanted to put it was, well, I said English is not our mother tongue. So what I really meant was not the word I used, but not to say that the dam was not a meaningful dam. Thank you.
All right.
Chairman, final question.
Yes. No,
you
are done. Yes.
Oh, Chairman.
Leadership here. No, is it nobody here? All right. Yes, nobody.
Thank you very much, Madam Hawa. Several questions have been asked relating to the shooting incident. You've said that it is under investigation, but you keep apologizing. Is the apology an admission of guilt, or what are you apologizing about? Something that has not been investigated.
Please,
you don't know the outcome.
can we ask another question, please? That is asking self-incriminating questions. That is not allowable. Can we ask another question?
I can't hear you, Chair.
The question you asked, the answer you're expecting is self-incriminating. Are you admitting guilt? No, you can't do that. Ask another question, please, or put it in another way.
So why don't you let her answer whether she is admitting guilt or not?
The matter is pending.
Yeah, but she keeps apologizing. So I want to draw her attention. Are you apologizing because you are admitting guilt, or why are you apologizing over a matter that you say is still an investigation, and so we should stay away from the matter?
Her answer is on record, and I think for our purposes, her answer is sufficient. If you want to repeat her answer, let them play it for you. But otherwise, I urge you to ask another question, please.
So do you want to repeat the answer to me so that because it says on record. I heard her apologizing and apologizing. So I'm like, what, the matter is still being investigated. We don't have the police report. Why are you apologizing? That's my simple question.
Can I have some order, please? Can I have some order on my right? Yes, Honorable, please proceed.
Honorable Hawa, can you take us through your achievements at the Ministry of Special Development Initiatives?
Yes, he wants your achievement at the Ministry of Presidential Special Initiative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, we are all aware that this was a new ministry created by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo-led government. And so I led in the setting up of the ministry. And I also took to the establishment of the 3 development authorities, that is Coastal, Middle, and Northern Development Authorities. Mr. Chairman, as I mentioned earlier on, when the ministry was created, we had to start with the needs assessment in the various constituencies to wait for the appointment of the CEOs of the development authorities. So we did all this up to the whole of 2017. So 2018, they were appointed. But before then, we had also started with some work. That was construction of toilet facilities across the country, construction of water systems across the country, and also construction
Chairman, across the country.
Water systems.
So we find your toilets and water systems
The toilets,
across
yes,
the
please.
country, not in selected areas in the country.
Mr. Chairman, every constituency had its fair share of the project. So that's why I'm referring that. Yeah. And also, we also led the construction of one district, one warehouse. And one of the projects that I did and gladdened my heart was the procurement of the ambulance, 307 ambulances. For one constituency, one ambulance. And then another one was the procurement of the 10,000 hospital beds for various hospitals in the country to ease the no bed syndrome in the system. So basically in the ministry, this was what I did as the ministry. And then, as I mentioned, with the development authorities, They also continued from where I left to do constituency needs projects in all over the country, the constituencies that were needed. So that was my achievement.
Just a follow-up. So, Honorable Hawa Koomson, from this explanation you've just given, it means that unlike it is being held publicly that you were imposing projects in the various constituencies, you were doing based on need assessment, going on what they need, and then making sure that they get it. That's exactly what you did, correct?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We did the needs assessment, as I mentioned, but these projects that I've mentioned are government priority projects. We had two approaches for our projects. That is bottom-up approach, which is from the constituency, and top-down approach, the government priority project. So the ministry executed that of the government priority project. Thank you. These are all news assessments here.
The construction of the toilets, the water systems, warehouses, and etc. Were these procurements done by the special development authorities, or they were done centrally from your ministry?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The procurement was done under my ministry, under the ministry.
The procurements were centralized. So the toilets were procured from Accra.
Yes.
My last question has to do with the ministry that you are going to. The president in 2017 promised to assist procure a research vessel. I'm told the research vessel is not yet procured. So it incapacitates the sector and research institutions in terms of carrying out research into aquaculture, the marine environment, and its ecosystems, and etc. What assurance, assuming that you are given the nod by this House, what assurance are you given that within a very short period, when you get there, the research vessel will be procured?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll do my findings and consult the appropriate quarters. Then we'll take up the process. Thank you.
All right, leadership. If you don't show me that you want to go, I will not know. Very well. Let me speak with Gisela. Is that right? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable nominee. Yes. Sorry? What's the problem?
Please ignore him and address me, please.
What will you do to ensure cycle is minimized or stopped? Because it's estimated that almost 2 million people depend on the inshore fishing industry for a living. My question again is, what would you do to ensure that cycle fishing is minimized or stopped?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will enforce the law. Thank you.
Honorable Leader, please.
Mr. Chair, I have a second question. Mr. Chairman, the nominee, we share a border, but kindly let us do a professional job in this House. And as colleagues on the other side, would please bear with us. Thank you. My second question is, fish feed takes up about 70% of the cost of production in aquaculture, in the aquaculture sector in Ghana. What will she do to help feed mill companies who have been advocating for tax waivers on fish feed raw materials imported into the country? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, when I get the nod, again, I will consult the stakeholders who are involved to see how best we can reduce the cost of the fish processing. Thank you.
Very well. Honorable Nilante.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairman. Chairman, first, I want to ask the Honorable nominee, what are the three main subsectors within the fishing industry in Ghana? The three main subsectors within the fishing industry in Ghana.
The fishing industry, the three main subsectors. Yes, Honorable Minister. Yes, Honorable nominee, we're listening to you. Ignore them, both sides of the House, and address me, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I don't understand the question very well, so it'll be very difficult for me to answer it.
No, Member, can you break it down for her for me, please?
Unfortunately for me, I don't know how to rephrase this question because very simple,
Very well.
straightforward question.
Subsectors. If you take the whole fishing industry, which sectors are identifiable, which whether it's what do you call the marine subsector?
Mr. Chairman,
I'm verifying.
That's not fair.
I'm verifying for
Mr. Chairman,
you.
that's not fair. Mr. Chairman, that's not fair.
What are the three subject branches you can
Mr.
find?
Chairman, I said I didn't understand the question.
Just
I wanted to be
now.
sure of what he was talking about. Yes.
Now, yes.
I said, what are the three main subsectors within the fishing industry?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have the marine sector, aquaculture, and then the inland sector.
Okay, my second question. Ghanaians have complained a lot about the penetration of Chinese into retail, mining, and other sectors of the economy. Are you aware of the length of Chinese penetration in our fishing industry? And before that, will you, by chance, heard of the number of Chinese trawlers on our seas?
Honorable, first, are you aware of the Chinese numbers of Chinese, the Chinese invasion of our shipping? Are you aware? That's the first one.
No, Mr. Chairman, I'm not aware of that.
Yes, the second of the number of trawlers, the number of trawlers, big fishing vessels that are on the seas. Do you know the number?
Mr. Chairman, I'm told there are between 80 to 100 trawlers on the sea. I'm not very sure, but that's the information I got. But I don't know their owners.
Mr. Chairman, this work is also to help the nominees when they are approved to do better at the sector. So if you allow me, she has mentioned about 80. I have with me here the list of number of Chinese trawlers within our fishing industry. I will give, Mr. Chairman, I'm saying that it's to help her in case she's approved. Here, 2 types of waybills that are issued to the trawlers when they catch fish. One is official Ghanaian waybill, and the other one is the unofficial Chinese waybill. So we have a Ghanaian waybill and a Chinese waybill, where the quantity of the catch is virtually under invoiced on the Ghanaian waybill, but specified correctly on the Chinese waybill, so that they will elude paying the proper customs and fines to Ghana government, whilst they pay the right one to the Chinese. I will give it to you. I have with here too a specimen contract that they enter into with Ghanaian fishermen in what they call transshipment. When they catch the fish on the high seas, instead of bringing it down for it to be properly accounted for, they sell the fish to fishermen illegally on the high seas, and they sign contract with them. So, I will hand those things over to her.
That's very good information that will assist her if she becomes a minister.
Yeah, I will go for my second question.
Right. Can he?
Because this one is just to assist her. How many regions in Ghana do we do artisanal fishing? And within that sector, just give me 4 of the
You're compounding the questions and say my second question and my third question. Can you let her answer the first one, then you can...
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I'm right, there are 4 regions. And if not, when I get there, I'll find out and get back to you. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, she said 4 regions. Can she mention the 4 regions for me, please? She said 4 regions. So I will want to know the 4 regions. The 4 regions, if you mention them for me. Will you mention the 4 regions for me?
I know of the Volta region, Greater Accra region, Central region, and Western region.
Do we do fishing in the Eastern region?
No, you've exceeded your limit.
Chairman, it's on the same question, the follow-up for the same question.
Thank you very much. You've had enough.
Mr. Chairman, because we do fishing, like, even in your constituency, in your region, we do fishing.
Minority Chief Whip.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, in an answer to an earlier question about the shooting, she apologized and she said the matter was before the police, so details of it could not be discussed. Okay, I just wanted to find out from her whether she was aware that a number of her constituents got hurt. Some lost some of their property. Oh, okay, you couldn't hear me. I'm saying that during that particular incident, a number of your constituents got injured. Others got their property damaged. In motorbikes and shops, bullets hitting their kiosks and other things. Are you aware that this happened to some of your constituents?
Mr. Chairman, I don't know which of the incidents he's actually talking about.
I'm talking about the very one that you said was happening around 6 a.m. That you are aware that some of your constituents got injured, some got their property destroyed. Whether you were aware?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not aware, as I already alluded that the case is under investigation and I don't have any reports in my heart.
So, after the incident, did you follow the news item that showed some of the young guys injured with blood all over them? Some of the women that were saying that there were bullets that hit their kiosks. You never followed those stories?
Well, I heard about, I read the stories, but I never heard about people being injured and blood flowing here and there. I never heard about that.
So, you mean to say, as the MP for the area, when persons have been injured as a result of the fracas that happened at the polling station or near the polling station, as an MP, you never took pain to find out whether some people were injured and whether some properties were destroyed? You never did that.
Mr. Chairman, I would want to create this impression here that I gave a warning shot in the air. It was not directed to anybody on that day. Thank you.
No, but did you hear that any people have been injured or properties damaged on that day?
Like I said, no.
Mr. Chairman, yes, you might have fired in the air, but you know that it resulted in people running helter-skelter. And even some of the EC materials got destroyed because people were running up and down, and therefore people got injured. You never heard these stories. You never followed up to see whether these were true.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I mentioned that the incident was out of the polling center. The polling center was in the compound, in the house, and the incident happened outside of the compound. So I didn't see whatever happened in the compound.
And you didn't find out later what happened to individuals from your constituency. You see, I'm asking all this to be able to help me tell whether your apology is sincere. We are all MPs. Incidents do happen in our constituency. Sometimes supporters of even your opponent. But you hear people are in there, you try to go and visit them, try to comfort them, to let them know that it was not deliberate. So when you apologize, then people will now believe that your apology is sincere. But if something of this nature happened in your constituency, with all the news around it, you never find it necessary to find out those who were injured and to visit them, and you come to our appointment committee, you say, oh, you are sorry, you make it difficult for me to believe the sincerity of the apology.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the best of my knowledge, nobody was injured that day. To the best of my knowledge.
Okay.
It never came to my notice that day.
The Chairman, I'll just continue. In Ghana, one of the major challenges that we have is inadequate biosecurity measures. When I talk about biosecurity measures, I'm talking about our ability as a country to protect our borders from persons coming into our country with other organs, whether plants, animal, fish, and what have you. So because of this, our borders is led to smuggling of unauthorized strains into our aquaculture sector. This has led to outbreak of diseases on farms in some instances. What will you do as incoming minister to avert some of this illegal introduction of unapproved fish strains into the aquaculture sector?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will want to assure the House that I will work with appropriate agencies to make sure that we enforce the law by bringing sanity in the sector. Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, equally the aquaculture sector has no fish laboratory. As a country, we do not have any laboratory that does diagnosis and assess fish farmers in maintaining their farms. What will she do to change this situation?
Please, did you say the question again?
A laboratory, the whole industry. There's no laboratory to assist those who want to trade in or do business or the farm in fishing. What is your plan in that respect as a minister?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When given the nod, we have the researchers already there. So all is to make sure that we help to put up the necessary offices to run all these tests.
Where are the researchers?
Mr. Chairman, I've read that we have fish researchers in the system. But when I get to the ministry...
Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, is that where they are? Are they, the researchers, are they at the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR?
They are the Fisheries Commission.
Okay, the Fisheries Commission. Very well. Yes, Honorable.
As much as you may want to assist the nominee, I was talking about laboratory, because in the aquaculture sector, you need a fish laboratory to assist them in doing so many things. And for a very long period of time, as you may agree in your earlier answer, our fish intake far exceeds even meat and poultry, meaning that the fish industry is a very viable one. But we do not have laboratory. And I'm saying that when given this nod, what will you do to change this situation of lack of fish laboratory to assist the aquaculture sector? That's the question.
Mr. Chairman, that's what I said, that in collaboration with the Fisheries Commission and other agencies that are responsible, we will enhance or enforce on these research activities on the fishing.
Chairman, let me just go back to her old place when she was the Minister for Special Initiatives. She said in an earlier answer that the target that is set to achieve has been achieved. Is that right?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
What was the target for the warehousing flagship program that you target to achieve?
The warehouses.
Yeah, the warehousing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We targeted to build 50 warehouses, and as I speak, 42 are fully completed, and 8 are between 80 to 90 completion. As at somewhere October that I got the report from the consultant.
So I just want to find out, this 42 that she's saying is completed, where are some of them located? Yeah, where are some of them located?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, we have one at Sandema, 2 in Tamale. I don't know whether it's south or central, but in Tamale. We also have 2 in Techimai. Then we go to the western region, both western north and western region. 8 are completed there.
In western region?
Yes. That is Bia, east or west, the last part of Bia. Not where a champion is, honorable champion is, but the other constituency. That one is completed. Bia West. Thank you. And then you go to...
Yeah, so I'll let you mention some of them. So for example, the one in Bia West, what was it meant to store?
Mr. Chairman, the warehouses were constructed in collaboration with the Agric Ministry and buffer stock. So when the request was made, we were asked to take the project.
I don't dispute that, but I wanted to know, because for example, if the one that you may say in Edra, might have been constructed to assist the maize farmers. Maybe in Nkranza is for maize farming. Maybe the one in Sandema is for something. I'm saying that the one in Bia West, what was it meant for storage? What were the target for storage?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For grains and cocoa beans.
So, Mr. Chairman, I want to find out from her, with regards to the 1 million per constituency, how much of the target have you achieved?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have achieved close to 70–80%.
So did your constituency receive $4 million?
Mr. Chairman, I didn't say we have achieved 100%. I said 70–80%.
So how much did your constituency receive out of the $4 million?
Mr. Chairman, I cannot tell the exact amount that was given to your constituency because it depends.
I'm not talking about my constituency because that may be, I may admit, that may be difficult for you to be able to tell how much Tamale North got or Aswansi got. But I'm talking about your constituency because that will help us to be able to see this target that you are talking about is achieved.
You mean my constituency?
Yes.
I'll cross-check, but I'm not sure my constituency got more than $2 million.
So was it in project or in cash?
It was in project, Mr. Chairman.
What are some of the projects that were taking place in your constituency in respect of this about $2 million that you are talking about?
Mr. Chairman, the constituency needed one warehouse that I just mentioned because there is market there and they bring in grains. So we have, which is yet to be completed. It's one of the between 70–80 that I mentioned. We also got road construction and then 2 school buildings.
So are you saying that the special initiative was also embarking on road construction?
Mr. Chairman, the purpose for Special Development Initiative was to bridge the gap in development. That is why we said we took needs assessment. So the needs in your constituency are the projects that you request for. Then it will be done. Thank you.
So in your case, part of it was used in construction of road. I say in your case of your constituency, part of it was used in construction of road.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, because we have bad roads in our constituency.
Mr. Chairman, with regards to the dams that some people have described as dugouts, how many villages, because you have conflicting figures, we intend to do, every village will have a dam. So no, we didn't say all. Some say, oh, we targeted to do 500. Some say, oh no, that's not what we did. You being in charge, how many villages did you target to construct this, whether dugout or dams?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The one village, one dam was not to give every village within the 4 years, because the number of villages in the 3 or 5 northern regions, if I'm not mistaken, are more than 5,000. So there was no way we could finish constructing over the 5,000 dams within the 4 years. But we targeted it that we were going to give every constituency in the 5 northern regions 10 dams for the start. And that was what we did.
And so in total, how many were the targets for the 10 per constituency in the 5 regions of the north?
Mr. Chairman, there were 560 because one constituency had no site for was not suitable, well, could not be constructed with a dam in the
So
north.
the target was 560. How many were you able to construct?
We have been able to construct, Mr. Chairman, 400 and
If you don't have it really, maybe you could provide it.
yeah, we've constructed about 470, but we have the active ones. The active ones to be 450 something, yeah.
You said you had about 470 constructed, but the active ones are about 400.
Honorable nominee, when you say active ones, what do you mean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, when I say active ones, those that are being used, because we had issues with some of them that were constructed. Thank you.
So these about 400 to 450 that you're talking that are active, are they able to reserve water throughout the dry season?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I have the number here. 471 active sites. And then we have 427 fully completed. We also came up with some correction that was not part of the initial construction. That is the stone pitching around the embankment. And as we speak, we've done about 170. Those that have been reported to me before we went for election, it was 170, yeah.
So I was asking whether these active ones of about 427, as we just stated, are able to retain water throughout the dry season.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
That for sure is that the report that you got that they're able to retain water throughout the dry season?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I will take her to the ambulance. In an earlier answer to your question, you said the ambulances that were supplied were 370. Am I right?
I said 307.
307. Which companies supplied these ambulances?
Mr. Chairman, the ambulances were supplied by 5 or 7 different companies, yeah.
Is it 5 or 6 different companies? Okay, between 5 and 6 companies.
Six different companies.
Do you remember any of the companies' name? The companies that did the supply, do you remember any of them, their names?
No, please.
You don't remember any of them, their names? Is any of them, I said you don't remember any of them, their names? You don't? The companies that did the supply?
I think I can remember 1 or 2.
Yeah. What's the name?
I think one is Luxury, and then the other one is Prestige or something.
Well, were the ambulances, which brands were they? The ambulance, which brands were they?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. They are Benz.
All the 307 are
Yes,
Benz?
please, all the 307.
So these suppliers, are they authorized dealers of Benz in Ghana? Is any of them the authorized dealer of Benz in Ghana?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Which of them do you know is an authorized dealer of Benz in Ghana?
Does any of them have the authority to be the one selling and servicing Mercedes-Benz in Ghana?
Mr. Chairman, I know luxury for sure sells different types of cars, but I don't know whether he's an authorized dealer.
So, do you remember the cost per ambulance?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. From the production to the distribution point with the insurance, it all costs us around $177,000.
Come again? It costs
$177,000.
about $177,000 US per ambulance, with insurance and everything. Why didn't you buy from an authorized dealer?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, when the tender was open, PPA emphasized on authorized dealers' authorization permit, which they produced. They produced it, and that is why we allowed them to.
So you are saying that the 6 companies produce authorized
dealers authorization.
Dealers authorization. That those that have been authorized have given them the go ahead to procure.
Yes, please.
Is that what you are saying? And can you furnish this committee with copies of such letters?
At the appropriate time.
No, not. Can you provide us with copies of those letters? When you say at appropriate time, yes, so that you can provide it. But when it's appropriate time, I don't get it.
Sorry, I will provide them when.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, loans in Ghana are very expensive. When you walk to any bank to procure a loan for any business, it's very expensive. So because of that, government, for those of us in crops, get subsidized tractors. Will you consider government intervention, just like the tractor program, to be able to support fish farmers who want to own their own vessels?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
How do you intend to do that?
Mr. Chairman, through the Agri-Development Bank and soft loans, we will support the fishermen. Apart from that, in collaboration with private sector, we'll have to get the fish at a moderate cost, and the fish feed at a moderate cost, if I got the question very well.
Mr. Chairman, the fisheries sectors require clear gear management regime. Ghana has not yet got a single gear expert. There's no also gear laboratory. None of our university or technical universities teach gear development. Yet 90% of our fishery challenges can be traced to wrong gears. What would she do about this?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will enforce the law of using the right gear for fishing.
Come again. I didn't get the answer. I didn't get the answer.
The question is, Ghana does not have a company that manufacture any of the things they use in farming. Is that right? That's what you call gears. Any of the things they use to farm, like the nets, the trawlers, or any of the things. How do you plan to assist in ensuring that any of these come?
Mr. Chairman, that's what I said, that we will collaborate with our Greek Development Bank to get them, because they are dealing with the farmers. Apart from that, we also enforce the law. That is, if we are able to assist them to get the right GA for the fishing, then we'll enforce the law for them to. Some of them actually have it, but because they think when they use the unauthorized one, they will have all kinds of fishes. That is why there is so enforcing the law will also help us.
Eshama, when we talk about the gear, we're talking about the fishing nets. We're talking about the nets. So the president promised to acquire a research vessel for Ghana when he spoke in Tema in August 2017. Unfortunately, to date, we do not have a research vessel. Will you remind the president, and what will you do to ensure that we get a research vessel to support the aquaculture sector?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I will remind the president.
Come again?
I will remind the president about it.
You remind the president.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, there are a number of coasters that were started during the tenure of Honorable Chaiiii as the Minister for Fisheries. Unfortunately, many of them that have been built across regions have not been completed, and they are now standing as white elephants. What will you do about these coasters that are dotted all around and idle?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, when giving the nod, I will go around to find out what their problems are. And we will revive those that have become white elephants. And why those who have been started, those that have been started are not completed, then we'll complete them if they need be. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, lastly, about the development authorities. The development authorities, they work under you, right? And you supervise the activities. You supervise the activities of the development authority. And there are 3 of them, right? So you pay attention to publication with regards to them, right? You don't put the mic, so I don't hear your answer.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
You know Samuel Atta Mensah, popularly known as Siemens. Siemens.
Yes, I do know him.
You remember his resignation?
Yes, I do.
And did you follow the accusation or the allegation that he leveled during his resignation?
No, Mr. Chairman, because he just wrote a letter through me to the president. But I didn't follow after the letter that was sent to me.
One of the accusations was that there was lack of teamwork from you. Was that right?
I'm not sure of what he said. Very well.
And then the other was that you wanted to be the leader of every procurement. Is that also right?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I think that is not true.
So
because the authority has their budgets, all right, so I don't even tell them how to go about with their
Do you use the development authorities' procurement to satisfy party, constituency party executives?
No, Mr. Chairman. As I said, I'm not part of their entity tender committee, and I don't also give that directive.
It has never come to your notice that this is happening in any of the development authorities?
Never.
Do you know Dr. Al-Hassan Suleimana Anamzoya?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I do.
Who is he?
Mr. Chairman, he's one of the CEOs for the Development Authority. That is for the Northern Development Authority.
The Northern Development Authority. Are you aware that they officially write to demand 10% for every contract?
No, Mr. Chairman.
You just answered those questions.
I wanted to find out whether that has ever come to your attention.
No, Mr. Chairman.
So if I provide you with letters that he has written, will that aid you to ensure that that is investigated.
What is her authority now? She's left that ministry. She's not in a new ministry yet. Or are you the one, the president's...
She's still the president representative.
Representative at the ministry?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the rep.
Okay, right then.
So until she's approved by this committee and sworn in, she's still the representative of the president in that ministry. And I'm saying that if those letters are forwarded to her, we should ensure that it's investigated.
Mr. Chairman, I mentioned that earlier on. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I will provide the letters that shows the demand for the 10% signed by him to the consultant, and the letters that were used to share projects to constituencies from Yo-Yo constituency, their share. You have Nalarugu and Gambaga constituency, their share. You have Chiriponi constituency, Yagaba, Kabore constituency, Wale Wale, and Napanduri constituency. The way they say, I will hand over all this to you. Mr. Chairman, I thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yes.
Honorable nominee, congratulations.
Yeah.
Let me plead that you give me concise and precise answers. My first question has to do with the fish feed, which I'm sure you know impacts hugely on the cost of rearing and production. I know you to be somebody who reaches out to other ministries and colleagues and other industry players relevant. Would you consider reaching out to the finance ministry to ultimately ensure that a waiver is brought to Parliament for consideration?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will do that.
I'm sure you are aware of a number of interventions by the European Union in Ghana. One of them, which I think my colleague was trying to allude to, is their support for the building of laboratories in the sub-region in terms of fish rearing. Would you also consider some collaboration with the European Union in Ghana in leaving a good legacy in that industry?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I will.
Finally, would you want to share your vision for the industry? For the industry.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. My vision for the industry is to prove on the aquaculture sector and also inland fishing. That is one of my vision. Mr. Chairman, I will also be glad to support the fisher folks, especially the women, to be able to have to enhance their work in the sector. Thank you.
You're done. Very well. Yes, Deputy Leader.
Hawa, let me say congratulations. You and I have been on this path for over 15 years. You are a very shy-looking person. You don't like to be seen in public talking. It was difficult to convince you to be a woman organizer and even to be a candidate. And I must say, you're being here for the second time upon nomination by Mr. President is something that should inspire women. Because knowing you don't want to be sticking through such a growth. But you've endured it. You like to work in the background. Congratulations once again for achieving this feat. Let me quickly draw your attention to the point you made on aquaculture. Our major problem is galamsey, and it affects our water bodies. And you know that aquaculture means relying on our water bodies. How do you hope to ensure a strong advocacy to enable you achieve this, since galamsey is still a big problem in this country and has taken a partisan political trend?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We will do stakeholders consultation in all the appropriate areas to let them know the bad effects on the galamsey on our water bodies. Thank you.
And I also want to commend you highly for your apology regarding the incident in your constituency. But in 2012, we had to come and rescue you at the collation center. Some young men nearly attacked you. The police arrested them when we had to get your collation done. Do you know whether these gentlemen were ever prosecuted, and whether the machete and the other offensive weapons the police seized from them were exhibits in court? Can you tell us what you know about that case after that rescue?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, those culprits were arrested, but I never got any official report from the police. Thank you.
You are not sure whether those boys were ever prosecuted at all?
Yes, I'm not sure.
Okay. Mr. Chair, with respect, I thank you so much. That will be all for him.
Yes,
Chairman, thank you very much. I appreciate that the nominee is a woman, and note further that there is underrepresentation of women in public life. But for the record, under Minister Chaiiii at Fisheries, the University of Cape Coast established a fisheries laboratory, so be informed adequately about it, and not to state that there is no fishing laboratory in the country. There is, and should you get the nomination, you would need to visit it and strengthen it in terms of the work that it will do. Now, Minister, there is report of pirates attacking vessels in our waters, particularly those who fish tuna. And I've seen some correspondence of some couriers even threatening to leave our water shores because of those threats. When you come in, will you protect our vessels in the waters in collaboration with the security agencies?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I will.
And then the Honorable Suhini raised it, and we need assurances from you as minister, because you were supervising minister of SADA, which was transformed into the Northern Development Authority, that some party activists in Tamale raided the offices of the Northern Development Authority, took away those tricycles, which led to the resignation of Dr. Majid Haruna as Chief Executive of Northern Development Authority. You see, the most painful thing, Chair, in this country is convicting the innocent. probably Dr. Majid Haruna and his family, have their reputation in tatters, yet they are innocent. Somebody in the name of the party probably is responsible for that loot. Will you assure this committee that you investigate the matter and ensure that those who undertook that criminal activity are punished?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I will.
And why is it taking you so long as minister not to have followed up? Because somebody had to resign on principle that, look, I am not aware of this, I did not sanction this, yet he has suffered, and those who took the activity are walking free. How can we trust that as minister you uphold the laws of Ghana?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I mentioned, the case is with the police. And so until the investigations are done, I cannot take any action. Thank you.
It's taking too long, more than a year. You just can't leave it in the hands of the police. As minister, that is public money that was used, and you should be interested in that. Now, Chairman, that leads me to, you had come to Parliament for a budget of 800,000 to set up a website. Was that done? What is the website address?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for this opportunity once again to explain myself to Ghanaians. Mr. Chairman, that was a mistake. It was a typo error. The correct amount for the website was 80,000 Ghana cedi. Was 80,000 Ghana cedi. And we have since corrected the 80,000.
Did you ask the Minister for Finance to correct it? Because we read this in a budget statement. And the 80,000, who did you procure to undertake the activity? Can you remember?
Mr. Chairman, we did not even do the activity. The activity was not executed until 2019. And that time, the 80,000 was for the the 3 development authorities and the ministry. But since the development authorities were established and they were on their own, the ministry did one on its own, which cost us 25,000 Ghana cedi. Thank you.
The Honorable Muntaka referred to it. Sam Mens, he has reputation, he loves his country. He plays other role as chief executive, as I may describe him, for City, the radio and television. And in principle, he abhors what you call political or ministerial interference in the work of an authority. He had to resign. Did you follow up to appreciate why he had to resign on principle? Because he could not condone wrongdoing?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I think the issue with the former CEO was that not only the former CEO, I would say largely most Ghanaians, thought the 1 million per constituency was money that was given to me in account. But this was a budget, and we all know how budget is being done in the country and allocation, even releases. When you are told that you have your release, it's a different thing altogether. Mr. Chairman, so when they took office, they kept pushing for me to release money, and I said, well, there was no money with me. In fact, we even had a meeting at the Jubilee House, and they were directed to open an account to which controller would transfer their goods and services into the account for them. Lo and behold, when we had the meeting, he had not even opened the account. And so he was directed to go and do it on Monday. The following Monday, he tendered in his resignation. So I don't really know what the problem was.
So you didn't interfere in the day-to-day management and operations of the development authority, the 3 development authorities. Is that the case?
Yes, please. I never did that.
You didn't undertake procurement quietly behind the door on their behalf?
Mr. Chairman, there was no way I could do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, in an answer to a question, you were emphatic. Warehouses across the country were your words. I'm holding your handing over note. I've only seen 35 warehouses completed out of 50. Is that the case?
No, Mr. Chairman. I know it's 42. As at the time, October, it was 42.
And you constructed 1,010-seater water closets across the country?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Did you consult members of parliament before undertaking those projects in their constituencies?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Yet, in the MPP manifesto that you were supposed to execute, these were constituency-specific projects. $1 million per constituency. You understand the $1 million times exchange rate and Nana Akufo-Addo 5.5. So 5 million Ghana cedis per constituency times 4 years. We should have had 20 million spent in each of the 275 constituencies. You remember your first bet, and I asked you where you are going to get the money from. Cumulatively, how much over the 4 years have you gotten for the execution of the $1 million per constituency?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I earlier on mentioned that for the first year, the ministry was in preparatory activities, setting up the ministry and the trade development authorities until 2018, when the trade development authorities came into operationalization. Mr. Chairman, so I will say that the 1 million per constituency was not started from the 2017 because the House approved for the 1 million per constituency, but it's not statutory, Mr. Chairman. So after every year, the money cannot be assessed or a new budget is made.
So apart from toilets, as you indicated, some fabrication of warehouses, what else did you do in the other constituencies? I'll refer you to an appendix in the budget for you to see some picture. But what else did you undertake as Minister for Special Initiative?
Please, I didn't get the question.
Apart from boreholes and warehouses, what other projects did you undertake?
Mr. Chairman, the boreholes, the warehouses, the ambulances, the 10,000 hospital beds were done directly under the Ministry of Special Development Initiatives. But with the development authorities, they did different types of projects, school buildings, chase compounds, markets, police stations, and
did you undertake community clinics? Where? Community clinics. Did you undertake them?
Community training.
Clinics, hospitals, small hospitals.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we did the CHIP compound.
Where?
And also mini clinics.
Where?
Mr. Chairman, I can't remember I know one at Akan.
Okay, so.
Yeah, one at the Akan constituency. One, I think, Amanfrum constituency. My constituency also got one. Chifwetumukwa. Yeah.
That's all right. Chairman, with your indulgence, just name 3 villages or communities where you did dams and relate to the prices that you procured those dams for our record. If you have any official record, where did you construct a dam? What was the cost of the dam? Just mention 3 communities and the prices associated with it, and attempt to give an explanation of the price differentials.
Mr. Chairman, I remember Garu, Timpani, Kusiga.
How much did it cost, each of them?
For the cost, I cannot specifically mention, Mr. Chairman, because it ranges between 200 to 250 Ghana cedi.
Will you make that available to this committee?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Honorable Minister, the record should be clean. 200, 215 Ghana cedis or 1,000 Ghana cedis?
200,000 to 250,000 Ghana cedis.
Yeah, better.
So the maximum was 250,000 for a dam.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Did you visit some of them 3, 2 months, 6 months after the construction? You followed a Joy FM expose on some of it, did you?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I did.
Any lessons learned after you watched those videos from the media?
Sorry?
Did you learn any lessons when you read in the media about some of those dams?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we learned a lot of lessons, and that is why we are even adding out this reef wrapping on the embankment to make them stronger.
I share the view of the president today, kind of scrubbing the Ministry for Special Initiative, because I don't see it in the president's letter communicated to Parliament. So it probably means that he's abandoning that Ministry of Special Initiative. This may not be your question, but we will be in some doubt. So which minister will now supervise the development authorities? You have an idea?
No, but I'm sure it will be under the presidency.
You think that there will be a minister under the presidency? We've seen some minister for public enterprise. This is not for your answer. I'm just communicating. We don't seem to accept that concept of public enterprises. Every ministry or department is a public enterprise. But I share the view that the number of ministries have been reduced, in particular yours, but the development authorities probably can run under local government. That is my suggestion. Now, back to your popular shooting case. You say that the police are investigating it. Were you cautioned or charged in a statement?
No, Mr. Chairman.
No, thank you. And Chairman, I know that when the Honorable Agalga requested for that license document, we want you to put weight on it, because we ourselves, we are doing an investigation as a committee, and therefore if she does have a copy of the license, make it available to Chairman for our purposes, because even the police, as an extension, sometimes they don't know that they are a state institution who help them in their investigation. I have noted that you have said that you were not cautioned or charged. Now back to your ministry and your handing over notes again. In the Upper West region, did you put up any dam?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
How many that you can remember?
Mr. Chairman, as I mentioned, each constituency is supposed to have 10. But I know that some has been done. I don't know the number.
Each constituency was supposed to have 10 dams. Upper is Upper West Northern region. Is that the case?
Each constituency is supposed to have 10 dams.
Okay, that's interesting. So we'll follow through your performance on that. Did you do any in the Upper East region, in the Bolga, Sandema, towards Zwarungwe and Zebla? Did you?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Now this may sound personal. Were you born in Pusu, Nalong, in Bimbila, or in Sekendi? Were you born? I see in your record Sekendi. Were you born in the Puswa, in the Bimbila constituency? I know one Father Abdullahi, who was serving in the police service, but I see in your record Sekendi. Which one should we rely on?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was born in Sekendi, but I'm a native of Puswa in the Bimbila constituency.
But not born in Puswa?
No, please.
Okay, but you know when I mentioned the name Uncle Abdullah, it rings a bell in your head. You don't need to respond.
He was my father.
Okay, so it means that you should know that I have information. That's why I say that I'm asking on this particular matter. Now, again, your ministry's budget. Did you always satisfy minimum procurement requirement as minister?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Now, Chairman, I'm about ending. In the run-up to the election, we saw parliamentary candidates commissioning projects, like takeoff of projects. Yet there were members of parliament on this side, I should think even some from the other side, who didn't have that benefit. But you could find in some constituency a parliamentary candidate come and cut a sword and refer it as a project under your ministry. The Honorable Ayalga is raising his hand. I could also raise my hand. The Honorable Ayalga is raising his hand. You didn't find that discriminatory?
Mr. Chairman, it never came to my notice. I'm not aware of that.
So if you do find out that development authorities gave out some projects to MPP parliamentary candidates, is that right?
So, Mr. Chairman, it tells you that I wasn't interfering in their work because they were doing
So there were those doing it. There were those giving out the contracts to parliamentary candidates.
I didn't know what was happening.
You didn't know?
Yes, please.
They didn't write to you?
No, please.
So if I bring a letter with lists of candidates, you stand strongly that you didn't know about it?
Yes, Mr.
But we need to improve our governance. I mean, that could be done for any member of parliament. But a parliamentary candidate, we question in what capacity were you doing that? I note that you have apologized for those excesses of shooting. That is not honorable, that is not ministerial, and particularly so that you are a woman. You should not be associated with those extra engagement of excitement with a gun. Chairman, on that note, I can only wish the nominee well, but will request for that additional information. I thank you, Chair.
Honorable Hawa Koomson. You want your petition back? Around our constituencies, many of us, projects, one specific project started in the youth, have not completed. Small town water project or mechanized boreholes. Borehole sunk, overhead tank raised, tank on it, but to date, no mechanized, no water flowing through them. How does it so happen?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the contractors are paid based on the work done. So maybe they might have raised the certificate and then waiting for their payment. And the water system is supposed to be installed with solar panels. So some of them are also trying to get the solar panels to install them for the water usage.
So when should the people of Bibomem and my municipality expect that water will flow through their...
Very soon, Mr. Chairman.
Very well. There were petitions, but all of them, they were about matters on which you have answered questions already. So I think that violent tendencies, 80,000 to 800,000, you've answered them. Both of them are the same thing. So one from Governance Watch Alliance, one, the other from Care for Free and Fair Elections Ghana. Around elections, always some groups emerge, and one such group brought the petition. But you have answered questions contained in their petition already. So we thank you for attending upon the committee. We thank you for attending upon the House to answer
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm so
You're
grateful.
discharged. It's now that you can thank us. We are discharging you now. You hear from us. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Honourable members, we did 2 hours, little over 2 hours. Let's stretch our legs. So we'll resume at 2 o'clock. Then we'll begin the consideration of the Honourable Member, Honourable Oponkroma, at 2 o'clock.